All right. Good morning, everybody. It's great to see all of you here. I'll introduce myself. Welcome to Crio, and welcome to the March edition of I Believe in Doing. This is going to be the projects edition. My name is Ajay. I'm one of the founding team members here at Crio, and I'm going to be your host for the day. All right. Many of you excited, waiting to participate in this edition of I Believe in Doing. Our past events have been super successful with some amazing participation from thousands of people, right? And most recently, we want to give you a quick update on one of our recent community initiatives, which was the Winter of Doing event, Cryo's Winter of Doing. We had more than 12,000 people who applied to the program. Great energy. We had a great time hosting, nearly everybody there. Three-stage selection process, and that is going on really, really nicely. We are on the last leg, focusing on the project implementations, which we call the externship phase, where everybody is going to be working on projects handed out by the industry. But, you know, here we are talking about a lot more projects, that all of you can work on. We have some great suggestions that we've put together in the form of a really nice projects hub at Crio. And you're all going to get an opportunity to work together, to participate together, and take part in this projects edition of I Believe in Doing. It's a 2-week event that starts today and concludes 27th of March. All right. So we'll give your peers maybe another 1 or 2 minutes to get started. And then we can talk about what we have in store for you today. All right. So how many of you, okay, let me do a quick time check. You know what? I think we should just get started. We can share a recording with the others when they join. All right. So cool. So what are we going to talk about today, right? We're going to talk about the importance of projects to get noticed in tech. Okay. If you want to be a solid developer, projects are super important, and we'll talk about how and what and why and all those details. Okay. So this is what we're going to discuss. What do people think projects are? Like you and me and people who are always interested in building things, get our hands dirty, or some people who haven't built anything meaningful yet, but they feel, okay, if I'm working on a project, I should do this, I should do that, and this is the goal of the project, and so on, right? We'll contrast that with what projects actually are. What are they really for? Okay. And we'll also give you a recruiter's view. A recruiter could be, someone in HR who is going through a lot of resumes, or it could be someone like a hiring manager. Okay, and how they view projects and how they prioritize and evaluate projects that are listed on the resumes. Okay, so these are the three broad categories in which we're going to organize today's kickoff. All right, so what do you think projects are? How should they be organized? What kind of tech should you do? How complex should they be? Right? I'm sure all of you have some idea, right? You've seen your friends working on projects. You yourself have worked on projects in the past, and all of you have an opinion. Okay, so let's dive in and take a look at what that is. All right, there are a few project myths that many of you might have. Okay, one is that it has to be an innovative idea. The project that you work on should be something totally novel, completely new, right? So you'll try to do things like, I have done this. It's an augmented reality-based personal assistant with mood detection, leveraging machine learning, AI, big data, right? You want to use the buzzwords and make everything look really nice, which is not a bad goal. It's these are actually very interesting problems to solve. Okay, they're also very challenging problems to solve, right? But the question is to ask, how many lines of code have you written? What's the ML model that you have used and why? Especially in this context, Twitter sentiment analysis, right? Or some weather prediction algorithm that you have used, or estimating the wait time to receive a COVID vaccine, depending on the current vaccine rates and the supply, right? So depending on all of this, can you come up with a predictive algorithm to decide, okay, this is when you will be able to receive your COVID vaccine, right? Now, the question is not the complexity of the problem, although that is a huge factor, but how many lines of code have you written? If there's an existing library and all you had to do is import the library, use some pre-existing models, pre-existing data sets, and run your algorithm against all of these things and come up with a final answer, then what is your real contribution? How much have you learned, right? Or can you dig deeper? Like, what's the ML model used, like Twitter sentiment analysis? The question to ask is, do you know what kind of sampling algorithm was used while creating the training data set? When they ran a machine learning algorithm to try and spot trends based on different people's moods, what kind of clustering algorithm did you use? Right? Did you use a stochastic gradient descent, algorithm to go ahead and find the weights that you should assign to each feature in your training model, right? Or how did you go about capturing these features in the first place? Was it a perceptron? Right? So many questions like this. If you want to work on these things, make sure you go deep and you understand everything about the project, right? Just having the buzzwords because it's an accessible project that you can do quickly is not really a good project idea. All right. Second project myth, right? It has to be done using some very complex frameworks, and that's how you prove that you're a fantastic developer who's very differentiated. Hmm? I've used TypeScript, Backbone.js, Golang, Redis, and Kubernetes, and I also know the MERN stack, right? People have spent decades trying to master some of these things. Okay, so the chances that you have a very in-depth expertise in all of these at the same time with about 6 months or 3 months of effort is very unlikely, right? Focus again on the problem that you're solving in this project. Okay, now whether you use TypeScript or Golang or Redis, how deeply do you understand this? Tomorrow, if I give you a different problem to solve, will you be able to use your Golang skills or your Redis skills to meaningfully come up with a solution that will work, right? Do you understand the nuances as well as the challenges and limitations in each of these technologies? Where does Redis not do particularly well, right? So these are things that you need to know. How do you distribute the cache, Redis cache, so that you can achieve like 10x scale? What are the features of the Redis cache? What impact does the hashing algorithm have? Or even Golang. It could be anything that you're using, right? So when you're trying to solve a real problem that your company is trying to solve, or maybe you are working on your own startups, um, why are you picking particular technology and why is it a good fit for the problem? These are all questions that you need to ask. Complexity is actually antithetical to success in many use cases. You can keep it simple and gradually increase the complexity because of project need. That makes much more sense. Okay, some more project myths. I need to have like 25,000 projects on my CV to get shortlisted. Right? Especially if you're a student. Look at this on the left side. I have 8 projects in my CV, but I'm still not getting shortlisted. Right? The chances are, especially if you're a student, right? You've just graduated, even if you're an early career working professional, if you have so many projects, like the questions to ask, okay, you have 8 projects. Have you deployed it somewhere? Can I see the code you've written? Is it on your GitHub? If it's only on your resume and not on your GitHub, and this is a computer science, like programming or a coding software development project, have you really done it? Why are your projects not on GitHub? Maybe a private repository. Maybe you don't want to share it publicly with the world because you have some top secret technology in there, right? That's fine, but at least a private repository that someone can get access to and read, right? Have you deployed your project? GitHub and Docker and Heroku and AWS with the student credits, they make it so easy for you to go ahead and deploy your projects and keep them live, right? So other people can come, they can use your project, they can interact with it, and they can see how you've built it, or at least experience what you have built, right? Have you done that? If you have not done that, why not, right? How complex is each project? Did you do something super complex, not in terms of the technology, complex in terms of how much effort you had to put in to complete the project, right? Complexity can be some underlying algorithms that are very hard to implement, right? Complexity could also mean there are so many things that you have to take care of. They're all individually simple things, but putting them together in a nice way so that they simply work, is also that also can be very challenging. Like Twitter, for instance, it's just 140 characters. Maybe now it's 240 or 280 characters. Pretty simple, right? 240 characters, take it, display it as a stream of tweets. Sounds simple. Uh, but in actually putting them together, accounting for scale and everything, very complicated, right? And lastly, how deeply did you understand the tech before, or even the problem and the use case as part of your project? If you just scratch the surface, right, then not very much fun, right? uh, not so valuable. And having 8 projects or 10 projects, it doesn't make any sense after a certain number, because a recruiter or hiring manager, and I'll talk about that later, okay, they don't have the time. They're getting hundreds of resumes. Can you see one nice good project, where you have gone into depth and really understood everything? That's a much better win. Okay, so what projects actually are? Okay, so let's talk about this. Projects are the best way to learn concepts. It's very easy to measure somebody or their technical skill based on the projects that they have actually implemented. Okay, it's not just a decorator for your CV. Okay, it is genuinely the best way to master a concept. Like if you want to learn how to do back-end development, the easiest way to learn as well as showcase that you have learned it is to actually pick up. It could be simple Python, Django. There are a lot of tutorials for you to get started. Use those tutorials, get started, build a project, deploy it, have a few people use it. You learn so much by doing this, right? Even for simple concepts, you only learn when you have done it. At least only I know, as a recruiter or a hiring manager, I know that you have learned it only if you have done something with it. Until then, it's just a credential. You got a score of 8 out of 10 GPA on a particular course. So what? I don't know how much you understood, right? Take an example, load balancers or DNS. You understand all about it. It's pretty simple today to fire up 2 or 3, uh, virtual machines on Amazon for free. Maybe you and your friend can get together and you get free credits to fire up virtual machines. Set up a simple load balancer in front, have a simple web application deployed on the end nodes, and see if the first request goes to the load balancer, which virtual machine got the request, right? If you increase the load, how does it do? Is it a round robin? Is it a random selection between the two? Maybe you want to get 3, 4 other virtual machines and see how the load balancing actually happens. And then you might notice some anomalies. And you say, oh, I think in these cases, the load balancing could have been better. And you come up with a better policy. You tweak the load balancing algorithm, set it properly. What if one of the machines goes down? How do you update the load balancer uh, to ensure that no more requests are sent to one of those machines, right? What is the like a heartbeat mechanism between the virtual machines that you have and the load balancer to ensure that there are the load balancer doesn't start sending stuff to machines which are down, machines which are overloaded, machines that are going through a software update, machines that have purposely been configured to not hit their full capacity because you want to save it for peak thrust, like peak load, right? So many things that you can learn just by playing around a little bit hands-on about load balancing, right? What about DNS? How many of you have actually purchased a domain name? I know, I mean, it costs money, but then there are a lot of throwaway domains that nobody wants that are really, really cheap, right? 100 rupees, 200 rupees. You can even hold it for just a month, and dispose it off later. But the goal is to learn, right? Once you have purchased a domain name, how do you configure it so that it actually points to the virtual machine that you have running on AWS? What are the different settings? What is an A record? What is an AAAA record? What is a CNAME? What is an MX record? Right? So many things to learn here. Uh, in the same use case where you have multiple virtual machines and a load balancer, right? Can you set up the DNS to set up DNS with your domain name so that all these virtual machines are equally load balanced at the DNS level itself, right? It's called DNS level load balancing, right? So many interesting things to learn here and do here. What are the corresponding config changes you have to make on your VMs so that the new domain name can be used even inside your VMs? Like I can say, telnet mydomain.com, and that should work, right? So many things that you can do. Okay, so make sure try these things. You learn by this is very simple. But once you have done this, it's not a complicated project. I bought a domain and I configured it. But then the next question is, okay, what did you do? How did you configure it? What is a CNAME? What is an A record? You can answer all these things. What is a whois lookup? How do you maintain a private whois record, right? A whois is basically a database of all registrars and domain names. It'll tell you who owns a particular domain. It's actually against the law to purchase a domain without actually providing a physical address, right? So many things you learn actually. Why not learn it by actually doing it? Don't read a book, go try it out. All right. Projects are a great way to demonstrate your skills. Okay. If you don't take away anything from the stock, remember this one line: your code is your resume. Okay. Your code is your resume. Your resume is gone. Nobody reads it. They do, but that's just a first level lookup. But very quickly, they want to see the code that you have written. Have a well organized portfolio site. Okay, GitHub gives you a free way in which you can host pages on github.io. So if you have a GitHub repository and you have a project which is the same name as your user ID, then you can use that to actually host your own GitHub page. Gives you a simple UI. You can use renderers like Jekyll or something like that to host your page, right? And it reads directly from your GitHub projects. You get a really nice, beautiful portfolio which you have built. That's what developers do. Okay, that's what serious and committed software developers do anyway. And when you do this, you'll stand out because everybody else is, forgive me for using the word, lazy, or they don't know, they don't have the exposure. So if you are someone who has this, you immediately stand out from the crowd, right? So try and do that. And it's not just about getting recognized within your college or company or your city or family. The whole world notices these things, right? Um, you can get discovered. Who knows what can happen, right? So, and GitHub, those contribution graphs, you see those green tiles. That's amazing. Like this person here, Dave Wassmer. You don't have to know. If I ask you, okay, is Dave Wassmer a serious programmer? That GitHub contribution graph will tell you whether this person actually writes code or not, right? So that's how you want to be evaluated. Your code is your resume. Your code projects are your portfolio. That is how you will be evaluated. Okay. Depth over breadth, quality over quantity. Very important. Okay. I don't have to go into too many of these details because I've covered it in the previous slides. But basically, Are you just blindly solving some problem, or do you understand the nuances that are there? How difficult is the problem to solve? How much effort is involved in the project that you're putting out there, right? It's okay if you write just one project, but if it is, meaningful, good amount of effort, and you've learned something meaningful, and you've learned from the challenges, very, very good, right? That's what you want to be. So always focus on quality over quantity. Okay. The other thing that projects give you, they give you the creative confidence. Okay, it's creative confidence because software development, when you cross a certain threshold, till you get to that threshold, it's all about learning syntax, learning which libraries are available, just learning how to write code and structure it in a nice way, what works, what does not work, how are other people solving it. You're still in that phase. But once you cross a certain threshold, it becomes a very creative process, right? And creativity helps you translate ideas into amazing products. It doesn't have to be full-fledged products. It could be features in a given product. But the the confidence that it gives you, because you have the technical chops, you have the technical skills to translate any idea. Okay, it could be brilliant, it could be simple, it could be complex, but you have the confidence. I don't mind. Just tell me what the idea is, and we can work through it and go through the implementation phase and translate it into a really nice product. That's what you'll be able to do, and that's what projects enable you to do. Okay, multiple projects. Your initial projects will be terrible, right? So if I have to show you the quiz program I wrote when I was, I don't know, 15 years old, I'll be really embarrassed by it. Okay. But at the time, it was a great project. I learned so much about computers and programming and managing. I wrote a simple piano. Okay. Like your keyboard becomes a piano. Nothing, I'm sure many of you have used it. It's nothing novel, right? But then the question is, when you press a key, how long should the tone last? Is it 1/10 of a second, 1/20th of a second? Right? If you keep it pressed, should it persist? Right? How long should it persist? If you want an echo or a reverb, then how does it fan out? So many intricacies that you learn. How about storing this? Say you want to record whatever you're playing. Suddenly you start thinking about, okay, how do I store tunes on disk? You need some kind of encoding. How do you encode? And it's not just this note and this note and this note. Okay, note one followed by note two followed by note three. It's also duration of the note. Sometimes it's also the intensity of the press to signify how loud the volume should be. Suddenly, you have a lot of dimensions that you have to worry about, and you have to invent your own encoding scheme, right? But these learnings later on might translate into might provide you, the basis for something else that's probably unrelated. But knowing encoding and many of these things might translate to some other ideas and some other solutions later. And all these things you pick up as part of the projects. Okay, cool. So I'll give you a recruiter view, and this will be the last section of my presentation, and then we can go into projects hub. Okay, let's flip the role. Okay, all of you are hiring managers, right? You get maybe 20, 30, 40, 100 applications for a job posting that you have put up on LinkedIn or AngelList. How do you evaluate or shortlist candidates? Okay. One thing you learn very quickly when you're on the other side, the hiring manager side or the recruiter side, is that going through 100 resumes for a single position is very, very taxing. It's very hard. It's difficult to be consistent about this. Okay. You might say, look, I had great projects, but if you're not presenting it the right way, then it's very, very hard to get the attention of the recruiter. Let's do a simple example. There's CV1, CV2, and CV3. Which of these three CVs are you more likely to shortlist? And please think about it from a recruiter's view. Okay, the recruiter is not just looking to comment on a resume. They want a shortlist to fill a particular position that they are hiring for. Okay, with that, I'll give you a few seconds, okay? Go through each of these and try to think about which resume you would shortlist and why. Also think about why you will not shortlist the other resumes. Okay, I'll give you a moment here. Think about it. Okay, so I'll give you my view, and your view might be different. Okay, which means resume shortlisting is very individual. It's not an objective decision. Right? So I have a view. You might have a different view. My goal when I'm sifting through resumes is if I can shortlist about 5 out of 100 resumes so that I can set up a follow-up interview or a phone call. Okay, that is my goal. I look at CV1 and I say, okay, work experience. So software engineer, fine. August 2017 to present, 4 years of work ex responsibilities. Developed a ticket monitoring dashboard for my team. Okay, what kind of dashboard? What was the complexity involved? I'm not really sure. Worked as a manual QA for an insurance domain. Fine. If someone has done manual QA work, they probably have very good attention to detail, right? So you know how to break a system, and that's a very useful skill. Because when you are writing code, you think, oh, someone might use it this way, so I have to factor it into my design. So, okay, that's a good skill. Developed API testing tool. Okay, but which APIs? What were you testing? What was the outcome of this? I don't know. All right, so skills to use Postman and Python, fine. And then Android developer, you were an intern before that, developed some on-demand lawyer booking Android from scratch. Okay, correct. Java, Google APIs. Now, if I need to any more details from this person, I have to actually call them because this doesn't give me the full picture. Okay. Then I look at CV2. By the way, one thing that I hope I'll get to that. Okay, it's going to be a surprise. So CV2, the skills are listed. Okay, I know what programming languages my company uses, and I say, okay, Python, Java. Okay, I need Java, and I know this person has done some Java. That's a check. What have you done in Java? Some REST API, Spring Boot. That's good. So you know how to build backends, and you're familiar with front end as well. You know some HTML, CSS, JavaScript. You have dabbled in Android development because you listed it in some other skills. If Android development was your core skill, you would have probably listed it right up front very proudly and told me exactly what it was. So this tells me you have a cursory knowledge of Android development. And then the work experience and the education, fine. And then I get to CV3. Okay. Now CV3 says, okay, projects, stock portfolio analyzer. Okay, I can understand what that means because I own stocks and I know what a stock portfolio is. If you're analyzing, you probably want to analyze the performance of the portfolio, right? 10% year over year, something like that. Okay, fine. So it's called Q Money. It's a visual stock portfolio analyzer. It helps managers make trade recommendations for their clients. Okay, so now I get this view and I say, okay, it's actually used by fund managers, and they have different portfolios for each client. I'm able to read it and give recommendations. Okay, great. What technologies did you use? Spring Boot, REST API, Jackson, Mockito. Okay, those are all the right, good set of skills. What did you actually do? Well, you implemented the core logic of some portfolio manager library and you published it as well, which is great. That's practically what you need to do. You refactored the code to add support for multiple stock port services. That's good because you're thinking about fallback. Maybe you have one particular service which gives you the stock price on a particular day, and you need that information to compute stock performance. Okay, right? But you said, okay, that in case one of the services down, the fund manager still needs access to this data. Let's add a backup. All right, great. So you're also thinking about, how available your application is and all those things. And then you improve the application stability and performance, which is also great because bug fixing to make it more stable and performance. Instead of looking at each stock one at a time, if you can just make multiple requests and get everything at once, great performance. Sounds good. Nice project. Can I see your code? Sure. There's a GitHub portfolio. I click on it. I can read the code. This gives me all the information I need in about 3 to 5 minutes of looking at it. 3 minutes, maybe less than that. a minute or so. I can grasp this very quickly, right? Which means I don't have to call this person. I'm not saying CV1 and CV2 are bad, but I'm saying let's put it in a second list and let's get CV3 shortlisted for this phone screening right now. Okay, if there's one person I want to call, it is CV3, right? So that's the thought process. You're ready by giving these details in your resume, you're reducing the effort it takes for a recruiter or a hiring manager to make a decision about you. Okay, they don't have to call you, right? That's what you want. Now, a question for all of you. Did you notice that CV1, 2, and 3 are of the same person? The work experience is the same, the responsibilities are the same, education is the same, everything is the same. But adding these projects at the right level of technical detail. See, I didn't go on about how awesome it is to use these apps or projects, right? I'm telling you technical details of what I did, right? There's always a CV3 in a pool of 100 resumes. Okay. So if you think I applied to like 20, 30 companies and I didn't hear back from even one of them, it means your resume was part of the 95 resumes that looked like CV1 or CV2. And there was a CV3 resume in that 100 list, and they got shortlisted because it's too much effort to talk to you, right? This is how hiring actually happens. Okay. I look at about 100 resumes every week, and I can tell you for sure this is exactly how we evaluate it. Okay. Cool. So, recruiters' view, how companies shortlist candidates. I've already talked about the resume, but let's look at startups versus large companies. Okay. Now, large companies have the ability to hire you and give you some time to train and upskill and all those things, right? You can go through 3 months of onboarding, training, and all of that. And because the large company has other people to work on these projects, they have that luxury. Startups don't have that luxury. They're usually 10 people, 15 people, 20 people. So they're hiring somebody today and they have to sit down with you for 3 months to train you. It means that the person who's training you can't do their own work, right? So they can't afford it. So startups, they expect you to have ready skills and for you to be productive in the first day, or at least within the first week you have to be very productive. They can't invest too much in your training. Okay, you should already know stuff. You should be in self-learning mode. You can pick up things very quickly, you prototype very quickly, you write code, you ship. All those things, skills you should already have, right? That's a huge difference between startups and large companies. Large companies might pick up a C++ developer and give you some time to transition to Java or Golang or some other language. Startups, if they're looking for someone with, say, React expertise, they will pick someone who has a React expertise. They won't pick someone with Angular or Vue.js or some other technology because it takes time to train you. Okay, we want ready skills right now. That's what startups are. That's one nuance to keep in mind when you're applying to companies. If you're applying to startups and you don't have the precise skills that they're looking for, very small chances that you will get hired. Okay, some other person will usually get the preference. Campus versus off campus. Okay, if you're doing on campus interviews, they're optimized for scale. These interviews, like you have 1000 people in computer science departments or electronics and IT, and everybody is going to sit down for placements of the same company. How do you shortlist from such a large pool? They will default to data structures, algorithms, some analytical questions. But off campus is all about getting your resume shortlisted. It's about having the right projects. It's about having the right portfolio. It's about selling your skills. It's about reaching out to people with very specific skills you have that they are looking for. Very different game. Where exactly do projects help in interviews? Okay, it shows your technical depth, especially if you have a good project that you worked on for 6 months, You implemented a lot of things. You have battle scars. You've debugged a lot of crazy issues that you did not even know could arise. That person is gold. Okay. And second is curiosity. Did you just scratch the surface and leave it at that? Or did you go deep and implement so many more things? See, usually a measure of curiosity and depth, right? What kind of, silly corner cases did this person think about? You'll have some nuances. You'll know some nuances about the problem you're solving that is not very obvious externally. Okay. So that is something to look out for. Uh, like you will tell me, I was trying to process this data and I noticed that there are some anomalies here. And because of that, I had to change this and I had to apply a different filter. I didn't think I needed this, but after applying the filter, I noticed that the accuracy of the model improved by 10%. This is a person who has done the work. The person who's not done the work is, yeah, I applied the data and I got the results, and I was able to tell if people are happy or sad. Twitter sentiment analysis. Anyway, so some curiosity you can measure. Is very easy to tell how invested you are in the problem. How do projects help post interviews? We're just talking about how it helps perform in the interview and shortlisted, but after the interviews as well, when you join the companies, right? Having these skills and going through the thought process of development, when you have that, you perform much better in your role as well. Okay, you'll be a very good performer. You take lesser time to onboard. It's a joy to work with you, right? Otherwise, for 6 months, I have to basically say, okay, this person who joined the team is still a fresher. I have to treat you with kitty gloves. Okay, treat you well and give you a lot of help. Which is fine in larger companies. But why not? Even in a large company, like say if you go to Google, and you can be productive within the first day, you make your first code commit was done within your first week, and it was a sizable commit and not just a comment or comment fix or something like that, right? That's great. People say, oh my God, this person is a real doer. And they start giving you more opportunities to work, to grow within the company. All right. Cool. So that's what projects are all about. That's how we look at projects at Crio. All right. And we're excited to give you all an opportunity to work on these meaningful projects that we have collected as part of the Projects Hub. Okay. Um, Many people are like, I don't have the ideas. What project should I do? What is a meaningful project? Should I choose JavaScript? Should I pick Node.js? Should I pick Java, uh, Golang, Flutter? You can pick whatever you want. The technology doesn't matter. It's about how deep you can go. And that's why we've organized different kinds of projects. There's JavaScript, web development, Java, app, Python, React, Bash projects, Android projects, whatever your interest is, right? Wherever your current skills are, try to double down on them and take it to the next level, depth, everything. Okay, so explore all the categories of projects we have. Pick something that really excites you. It's very difficult to be curious about something that you're not interested in, right? So pick a project that sort of resonates with your interest, and whatever technical skills you lack, you will be able to gain them very easily because you're so interested in the problem. Okay, so we have more than 50 projects available, lot of variety. Pick something that really interests you and proceed with them. All right. Duration of the challenge is March 13th to 27th. That is 2 weeks. Okay. Um, the first challenge is that you pick up a project from Cryo's Project Hub, and you say, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and start working on the project. The second challenge is actually sharing your experience with the world. We want to see a video of the implemented project. Okay. How did you go about it? What were the challenges you faced? What are some deep insights that or surprising things you found out as part of the implementation process? Record a video with all of these things. Some of you are camera shy. You don't want to record a video. Completely fine. You can write a blog about it. Okay, you can do a walkthrough of your project, you can show a demo, you can show some cool hacks that you used to build the project, and write about it, share a blog. And we have some rewards for some of the top performing projects, both from a technical standpoint and also a sharing standpoint, right? um, you have a chance to, like, most of you already have your development set up, you have laptops, maybe you have a screen monitor, something like that. But then we have some exciting goodies for you. Logitech Master Series is a keyboard and mouse that we want to give away to some of the top performing top performers in these projects. Okay, so that's about it. The next steps are, we're going to send you an email. Okay, we have all your emails from the registration forms that you filled. So we will send you details about how to sign up for your projects, where to submit your project selection. I hope all of you have joined Slack. We'll send you a link. Okay, it's an open community. We have more than 10,000 developers as part of our community. Okay, so join, collaborate with each other. This is not a competition. Okay, everybody's project is different, everybody's project is unique. Help each other out, and you will also learn something about a different project. Okay, get curious about what others are doing, and in this process you might discover a really nice teammate, future teammate, who you might want to pair up with them and solve some really interesting problems and work on other projects together. So use this opportunity to do that. Other ways where I believe in doing has really helped is, some people who participated in previous events, they graduate, they go to some companies, and now they're looking for, the companies are actually hiring. And then as part of the hiring process, hey, do you have any person, do you have any referrals? And you say, yeah, there's this one person that I saw in IBD. They were really good and worked on a really nice project. We should definitely interview them. Many people have got placements through this network. So be a good community member, be a good community citizen, help each other out, showcase your work, right? Comment on others projects. Maybe you can do user testing of somebody else's project and they can test your project for you. So many ways to collaborate. Okay, it's going to be amazing. Maybe you'll get a really nice idea to go beyond the project and actually implement other features you never thought of, right? So it'll be a great collaborative effort for everyone. So yeah, just wait for that email. We should we will send out all the emails before 2 o'clock today. There's a lot of you who have registered, so just give us a few minutes. Before 2 o'clock, for sure, all of you will receive an email with clear steps on how to select your projects. In the meantime, go to the projects hub and start looking at all the projects and tell us what you're going to do. Okay, join Slack and start collaborating already. I think it'll be great. All right. So that's about it. That's all we have. Thank you so much for your interest in Crio, your interest in I Believe in Doing. We will see you again. We'll have a few follow-up sessions, which will serve as a nice way for us to interact again. And until then, good luck, happy coding, and good luck with all your projects. All right. Thank you.